For Sunday, March 22nd, you've found the Georgia Gang. At the top of our agenda today is the legislature, specifically the Senate, which is looking at the transportation bill. In the city of Atlanta, let's spend all the money. A bond issue passes. And at Georgia State, Georgetown, of course, hoops mania. These are some of the stories up for grabs on the Georgia Gang.
From the Fox 5 studios, the Georgia Gang starts now.
And we're glad you could be with us on this Sunday. We hope the cloudy skies are past us and that spring is finally here, though we're taping on a Friday where it's still gloomy and we might as well be in Detroit. Well, maybe that's an overstatement.
That might be an overstatement.
That's an overstatement. I'm sorry, it still is Atlanta, but it's not hot Atlanta. All right, this transportation bill has a lot of twists and turns. This past week, it passed out of a state Senate committee and may have been voted on Friday for all we know, but it is still a radically different bill from that was passed by the House of Representatives.
It is. Of course, the House passed the legislation, a big package that we've been talking about for weeks now. That was a main factor with the 29.2 miles per gallon excise tax. All the gas taxes will be folded into this excise tax, and you're right. The Senate really is going to change everything as we tape. The legislative gymnastics are fun to watch. I talked to a lot of senators. I know some of you have too. It's going to be a totally different thing. They're talking about a 24-cent, lowering it to 24 cents. I'm not sure if this is capped. You know, I was concerned over the last few weeks that if it's a self-rising tax.
Well, I think it is, and I think that, well, no, that's a different cap. Here's the difference, I think, the big difference. The Senate is saying to local communities, if you want to do more, you can. You can get together as 2 counties, 3 counties.
Or whatever.
You can pass local option taxes on gasoline, on the gallon.
And that's different from the House version.
Right. The House version is just a straightaway 29.2 cent excise tax on a gallon of gas. The Senate version doesn't raise enough money, according to what Governor Deal wanted. And also, Jeff, the Senate bill apparently has no money at all for transit.
I think that that's a major misstep on the part of this legislature, that they're not taking seriously transit. There's $100 million in there for, I don't know, over 100 transit agencies across the state, and it's borrowing only. And so we're still behind the curve with other states that allocate money on an annual basis for mass transit, and we're still not doing this in our state. I think that this is one of the reasons why, you know, we're just out of touch with millennials. And they're going to be the future voters, hopefully future members of this legislature. But if we were to look at their commuting patterns, using Uber and reliance on mass transit, you wouldn't have a major transportation initiative that excluded transit to the extent that this does. And you also had the governor's panel leading up to this bill that advocated, I think, very clearly for transit.
Well, one other thing about this, the Senate bill and the House bill eliminate Delta's fuel tax break. I think that's altogether a good thing.
That is, yeah.
One of the worst corporate citizens in history should not be rewarded.
Come on,
I think you're going to see that. Let me, Jeff, let me just say, though, that unfortunately, we've talked about the polling on mass transit. 50% of the populace of the state of Georgia really isn't interested in our traffic congestion here in Metro Atlanta, and they see the money going to quote unquote Atlanta and not to their area.
Yeah,
so
but Atlanta,
that's the problem.
It's half the population of the
problem.
state. It's 2/3 of our economy right here in this.
I understand. It's messaging, though, and you know, we've talked about this. It's the messaging and how you present. I think you're going to get some type of transportation plan going to a conference committee.
I think, you know,
Well,
obviously we're
going to conference.
That's right.
Right.
That's right, and we've got an initiative. We've got some money, some revenue for the first time in years going to transportation, even if it's just roads and bridges. I understand that. But what I would not like to see is another governor's road improvement program where we're building 2- and 4-lane roads to nowhere, just so that we can have some sort of equity between urban and rural areas.
You know what? I don't think that's in the playbook. I think the legislature is serious now about roads and bridges and bottlenecks. And remember, they've got a huge backlog of infrastructure that's got to be fixed before you can even start building.
That's right. And I think that the governor was very persuasive in making that case early on.
It occurred to me this week that the recession might truly be over. We saw some really good, I don't feel it yet. We got some good news on unemployment. It's its lowest since 1996 in the Olympics.
It's a run up to the Olympics. That's amazing.
And also, the other sure sign of that was that the Senate passed a budget, a state budget for the coming year, that includes $1.2 billion in bonds. That expresses some optimism. Last time we did a big bond package was the recession, trying to create jobs. This one is, we're going to have some extra money. We can afford the debt service on these bonds. And Phil, included in the $1.2 billion package is the $23 million for the parking deck for the Falcons.
I saw that.
The Falcons just get everything they want, don't they?
I saw that. There is some grumbling about that, but it's going to go through.
Well, the Falcons also got, well, the Falcons weren't even a party to it, but the city got a ruling from the Supreme Court of Georgia this week that the Falcon financing with city participation is okay. Yeah. John Woodham's, our friend, lost that case. And that would tell me, by the way, the Braves Stadium financing is going to be approved. I can't say that with certainty, but don't you think?
I think that
it's
going ahead.
In their favor.
Mm-hmm. And you know, I think we ought to just again point out that Governor Deal and his economic development team, Chris Carr, the Economic Development Commissioner, they have really been doing a great job over the last few years trying to create these jobs in spite of Obama's job stifling regulations.
Well, no, I think a lot of it has to do with the relationship that the governor has with Atlanta's mayor, Kasim Reed, they have been working together first on Savannah, and now he's getting the governor's support.
So Kasim Reed was instrumental in bringing Mercedes-Benz to Sandy Springs, please. The only thing they worked together on is the Port of Savannah.
That's what I said, and I think everything else makes that relationship better, so that they support each other in different ways.
Now, this fight over the Religious Liberties Bill, RFRA is the code word. Eric Erickson on WSB Radio, I think, has overstepped the lines of a talk show host. I mean, he's down to advocating and calling people out. He called out the wife of Wendell Willard because she runs the Republican Foundation fundraising efforts. And David Ralston, the speaker this week, called him out in no uncertain terms. Were you there, Phil?
Well, I've been following this all week. In fact, I saw the speaker yesterday, and of course, he's got a lot on his plate, ranging from transportation to, as you say, this religious liberties bill. You know, the First Amendment grants a lot of wide latitude to the Eric Ericksons of the world, whether you like it or not. I think the speaker, in his comments to the press club, he's a savvy lawyer. He's still not sure about the Religious Liberties Act. I think this is his moment. If he wants it to pass, it'll pass. If he doesn't, it won't.
I think clearly that's the case.
It passed the Senate,
well,
but now it's at the House.
You know, it's a good thing that we've got some cooler heads that are prevailing over there on this issue, because it's something that we really need to look at, as the speaker said. I mean, what's the genesis of this? What's behind it? Are we trying to discriminate, or are we trying to provide some religious liberty, as the bill pretends to do?
The proponents say the bill is trying to just draw some extra lines for judges when there are lawsuits about people who feel persecuted because of their religion.
But there is no need for that, because it's already been guaranteed in the amendment to the Constitution.
Well, one of your favorite presidents, Bill Clinton, signed this into law, and it's modeled after that. So
why do we need yet another one? Because why?
Well, I just said it gives extra lines and guidance to judges.
Hey, real quickly
I don't think that's
real
the
quickly
intent of
here,
this
we
bill
should
at all.
note that the city of La Vista Hills in DeKalb County passed passed the Senate this week. The city of Tucker passed with some boundary changes. And I don't know if those boundary changes are enough to torpedo the bill. And here's the trivia question. We don't have a lot of time. 2 state representatives from DeKalb County have introduced a bill for a city of Winship. What is that?
Well, what is all of this? What's the difference? What's the difference?
Is it the Winship?
What's the difference? I mean, me and the 2 houses on either side of mine are going to form a city too.
And
we're going to call it
we were going to have the city of Hunter Hills.
You can mock
We're going to
this,
call it the city of Arabia Mountain.
People want local control of their local affairs.
Yeah,
and I think
I want local control of my living room.
I feel badly here. I forgot to look up what a city of Winship is. I saw it go through. I said, check my calendar. Is it April Fool's? No. And I just I don't know what a city of Winship is.
Well, you know, the key to all of this cityhood in DeKalb County is our friend, Senator Fran Miller. He controls everything is what's going to happen and not
And those
happen.
boundary changes are his boundary changes.
That's right.
All right. We've got to get out. When we come back, Atlanta, let the money just roll in and let's spend. And by the way, let's not tell the public what we're spending it on. Stay with us.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Visit their website at myfoxatlanta.com.
This will only be a slight exaggeration, but some 10 voters went to the polls in Atlanta Tuesday and approved a $250 million bond issue
By a huge margin.
by 88%. That ends most arguments.
Overwhelming.
It does
yes.
in the arguments, doesn't it?
Yeah, when you've got 88%, you can do what you want. So Kasim now has $250 million to play with and no project list. And I find that very disturbing that, you know, all these people went along with it, but there's no project list. And there's some dangerous stuff in this bond issue. It's not just roads and bridges. There's a bunch of provisions for city buildings. Well, what could that be about?
Well, I think that what you're going to be
talking
you're going to see
infrastructure
you're going to see a major investment, and one we haven't seen in a long time in this city in infrastructure, other than the sewer.
Well,
and
I'm with
we
you.
need
The bridges need it.
We
We need
definitely
it.
need it.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. And I think that you're going to see a very professional approach to what those priorities are.
I think you're
but
gonna see,
I know that the mayor has been working very closely with the Atlanta Committee for Progress on this issue, outlining what those priorities are going to be, bringing in experts, looking at what peer cities have done with these kinds of investments and where to get the biggest bang for your buck. So he's working with the corporate community and the major thought leaders in town to make sure that we prioritize
Right.
these efforts.
And
Jeff,
working
I
on
think
the
you're going to
Beltline
see
as
City
well.
Council, the various members for their districts and the projects are going to have a
Well,
big say in this. And some of the council members already know what they want to
Yeah,
do.
and they've been engaged and they've had public hearings leading up to the referendum in the council districts to talk about the needs. And already in my neighborhood in MLK, a train trestle that has not seen a train in 100 years has been removed, and it has taken the top off many a 18-wheeler that shouldn't have been going that way anyway, but scraped them off like a tin can. So things are happening already, and I think there is definitely a plan afoot.
Well, it's also interesting. Kasim Reed is busy in the background too. I mean, this move to annex Druid Hills is moving a little bit. I really don't know the legislative fate of it, and we learned late in the week that Kasim Reed is looking at annexing the Fulton Industrial District,
Right.
and which has always made sense to me, by the way. It is the industrial strength of the city.
Right, and plus the city already owns the property some of the property in the district where they're trying to annex.
So far as I know, the city doesn't own the strip clubs out there. That's just a random observation.
The mayor
Probably
did
some
get
free enterprise.
The mayor did get in a jam with Councilwoman Mary Norwood, though, over the whole airport contracting. She is questioning why does the mayor accept some of these no-bid contracts, like the big advertising contract, and then is complaining
I think that
about
he had
other
a very clear
contracts?
explanation for that. I mean, you had this record amount of revenue coming in from the Clear Channel contract.
Well, that's not true
And with
at all.
other ones, yes, it is true. And with the other ones, you look at Underground, for instance. It's not like people were lining up to buy the doggone thing. With a contract like the one at the airport, you probably need to inject some competition. And I think that it's a good thing to go back and see if we
The
can make that
advertising
happen.
contract has no minority contractor. Normally, you'd be jumping up and down and
Let me tell
complaining
you
about
what,
that.
and actually, the
sweetheart
help
deal.
it's not a sweetheart deal, and neither
Clear
I don't
Channel
think
has had it for
does the-
30 years
Does the
with
mayor
no
want
bids,
this
with no
to be
bids.
seen as a sweetheart deal? And if you realize that the bidder was a minority, you probably wouldn't support it either.
All right, so the other big story in the city, really, besides the bond issue passing, is the Atlanta cheating trial, this public schools cheating scandal. We're stuck here because that case has gone to the jury. There's nothing we can say about it except that the defense attorneys in their closing statements, a couple of them dressed like circus clowns. I was kind of shocked to see that behavior for members of the bar. But basically, their closing statements attempted to impeach the witnesses and say that they were liars and cheats themselves and therefore had no credibility. But we don't know how the jury's doing with that, and we don't know how long the jury will be out in that case. The Braves, the Cobb County Braves, not the current Atlanta Braves, the Cobb County Braves, got together with the governor and made a major announcement this week that Comcast will be the sole tenant of that office building they're planning by the new stadium. I think it's a 9-story building.
Right.
And Comcast will wire the stadium so that all those millennials who walk there, I presume, because they all like that kind of transit, right?
No
They're
bike.
walking there.
Where are they going to walk
But
from?
they'll have their,
Get killed in the process.
the millennials will have their Wi-Fi.
Thank you, Jeff, for that
Comcast
analysis.
is going to wire that thing.
They're going to be ready for them.
You know, and that's great that Comcast
And
did it.
if the guy's phone isn't getting what he wants, how long till the technician comes to him, and does he have to make an appointment for the next game?
But you
He'll
know,
get a
we all have to
2-hour
weigh
window.
in here, and I have to second what Jeff said last week. We've all been out there, and I just drove over the bridge there on Northside Parkway the other day from Fulton into Cobb County. You know, the Galleria area, they don't really have any plan for this bridge that they're going to do that they have no cost about, and no one knows who's paying for it except we know the Cobb taxpayers are. I just don't see how this parking mess is going to be resolved.
It's
All right, now,
Or the traffic mess.
The traffic
gonna
mess.
be a
Thank
wonder.
you. Yeah.
all right, turning
Yeah,
to
you got to be able to get through traffic before
to
you
park.
park.
That's right.
all right, Cobb is fun, DeKalb is not. And we're getting a wave here. Maybe I'll just hold this till the next block. But DeKalb County now is paying 2 chief executive officers. Soon, it appears, we'll be paying 2 district attorneys. I'll explain when we return.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Visit their website at myfoxatlanta.com.
Yes, indeed. We were having a side conversation. I'm sorry, that's not very professional. But let's look at the situation in DeKalb County. We are paying the chief executive officer, Burl Ellis, his full salary. He gets pension credits while he's awaiting his retrial June 1st. We have an interim chief executive, Lee May, who is getting a full chief executive's salary. This week, Lee May announced that he has hired, out of his budget, Mike Bowers, the former Attorney General of Georgia, to root out corruption in DeKalb County. Now, we also have something in DeKalb County called a district attorney with a full staff. So I really don't get this Bowers thing. To me, it has to be a grandstanding thing.
Well, you also have
Bowers,
a federal
well, that's right.
prosecuting team, which has done a pretty good job in DeKalb County, actually.
Well, but look, Bowers is going to get $400 an hour.
And Richard Hyde, the chief, is another investigator that's been hired on too. Now,
I think he only gets 300 an hour.
Yeah, but
Only.
let me just say, maybe this is an indictment of District Attorney Robert James that they feel that he's not going to be aggressive enough.
Well, I don't know,
Aggressive
but
enough,
it's,
or just maybe not smart
let
enough.
me give you an example. Now, one good thing is Bowers is going to finally follow up on that special grand jury report that looked at a wide range of DeKalb activities.
Starting with the watershed department.
Yeah, but Bowers can't bring charges. He can only bring evidence, I would think, to the DA or the feds, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if you're going to
He
hire
doesn't
a
have
special...
the power of law.
Right.
Does he have subpoena power?
Well, not only that, but Mike Bowers, I mean, we all know him and like him, but I mean, here's a guy who's very politically charged. We saw that just on the religious liberty bill a week or two ago when he weighed in on that. And if you're going to bring in essentially a special prosecutor, as you would on the federal level, why not bring in a former U.S. attorney, somebody like Richard Dean, who doesn't have that kind of political baggage at the same time? I
They
know
don't
that
have
you
any
probably
power.
No, well, you're exactly right. It doesn't have any power.
you know
And
what's
so
missing?
the only upside of this that I can see is incredible expense, taxpayer expense, for not just Mike Bowers and that $400 an hour, but his investigators and the rest of his team. I mean, this is going to cost DeKalb County taxpayers at least $1,000 an hour.
You know
Well,
who's
and
going to go ahead, Alexis.
The only thing I was going to add is that we were saying earlier that his power is limited just to departments and the employees, but not the commission. And we've already had one commissioner admitting guilt in federal court.
I will say
And
this.
she was sentenced Friday.
I will say this. This is, you remember, this is the team that did a lot of great work and exposed corruption in the Atlanta public school test cheating scandal. If they find some explosive things that haven't been found before, it does redound to the benefit of the county.
All right, one guy who's got to be really angry about all this is Bob Wilson, that former DeKalb district attorney who meddled in Dunwoody, meddled in Johns Creek, issued false reports, was involved in the Atlanta police cheating thing, did good work there. Bob Wilson shut out of this deal. Mike Bauer's getting $400 an hour, and Bob Wilson's getting nothing. It's about time.
My goodness.
Am I clear?
Tell us how you really feel.
I can't decide whether to stay serious or have fun. Let's have one serious thing because I want to get it on the record. Jeff, you know this. DeKalb's high schools have all been accredited by the Georgia Accrediting Commission, which gets them off the schneid with SACS, Advanced ED, and I think that's a good thing. And it's something Michael Thurman and the school board fought, but a lone Dunwoody City Councilman, Terry Knoll,
No, he didn't fight
just
dual
pushed and pushed
accreditation.
and pushed and got it done.
No. The schools. I don't ever remember the school district fighting accreditation.
Slow walked it.
Well, you know, it had to be slow walked because of the relationship that was already there and some of the required actions that the school district had to take under SACS. But I don't ever remember anyone opposing, especially not Michael Thurman, this dual accreditation.
All
It's a
right,
good
so
thing.
let's have some fun. There are other topics, but let's have some fun. Well, now we're caught by deadlines because Georgia State will have played another ball game by the time this broadcast airs. But Georgia State's upset win over Baylor on Thursday was phenomenal.
Explosive.
And some good stories came out of it. I mean, the fact that the coach's son, R.J. Hunter,
Made the
drains the
three-point.
three that wins the game,
Yeah.
and they scored the last 13 points of the game.
It's
and
amazing.
then Dad, the coach, Ron Hunter, falls off the bench because he broke his Achilles tendon last week.
Yeah.
And then we find out that Casey Cagle, our lieutenant governor, his son Carter is a guard on the Georgia State team. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I just
and
saw
I'm a
that.
basketball fanatic, and I didn't know that.
I just
Right.
saw that. It's great. That was exciting video if for viewers
Yeah.
that didn't see that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just
Check
so
it out.
much fun. And
Terrific for them. That was the number 3 seed, Baylor, and so this was.
So they have a big game at this weekend.
Well, they have another big game
Yeah.
with Xavier, but hats off to them, and they've got to be one of the winners of the week, right?
I
Right.
Yeah.
tuned it in when they were down by 7 or 9, I forget, but Baylor had 56 points. And there was like a minute and a half left, and I said, well, this is over.
Right.
And so I left it. And then
if
I
they
find
didn't
out
come
they
back
scored
but 1
13
point.
straight
Is
points,
that
and Baylor
amazing?
still had 56 points.
Can you suit up and referee for some of these future games?
Yeah, those days are behind me. But I'll tell you, the interesting question for Georgia State, really interesting question. Can they keep Coach Hunter? He's cool. He's just a likable guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
They got to give him a bigger arena. They got to do stuff for him.
Yeah.
Right. Well, look out Turner Field.
Well, anyway, it's a lot of fun. All right, when we come back, winners and losers.
Time now for this week's winners and losers.
We left college basketball and March Madness too quickly. I failed to mention an important part of it. President Barack Obama, of course, filled out his brackets, as he always does. And one of the teams he has going to the Final Four is Islamic State.
What?
Okay. Very funny. Yeah.
And that was the joke.
Did you get
Good.
Did you
That
get
was there was tremendous build-up for
That's
that
a
joke,
great
and it was
joke.
just terrible.
Terrible.
No, it's a great joke. All right, Jeff, I'm starting with you.
Well, we've touched on a lot of these already, but obviously when you win any kind of an election by 88%, you
Yeah.
are a winner of the week, if not of the year. And so hats off to the mayor for doing that. Also, the Falcons suit and getting that out of the way so that can move forward. That's also a big win for the city of Atlanta.
It is. Phil.
Well, I hope the winner is going to be Governor Deal's opportunity school district that he wants to create that's going through the legislature. I hope it passes. It's to help kids get out of these failing schools, and keep your fingers crossed on that one. I've got a big loser. I'm upset with my own alma mater, the University of Georgia, the Panhellenic Council, and some bureaucratic pinhead who's head of the student affairs says we need to ban hoop skirts from the Southern war between the states period because that's somehow wrong. I don't see how you can control clothing.
First of all, is there rampant use of hoop skirts?
Well, some of
in Athens?
the girls do dress up in hoop skirts for some of the Old South events at fraternities and sororities.
You upset you're not going to be able to wear one?
But you know
Phil?
what? You'd look good in one. But anyhow, let's stop regulating clothing. You wouldn't want it if they were trying to go after the saggy pants guys.
Yeah. All right, Alexis, what do you have?
Okay, I'm going to ignore Phil. Okay, so I'm going to salute Rita Samuels Jackson. She had her annual Women's History Month program at the Carter Center, and highlighted women in media, and we had a wonderful discussion about portrayal of women in media. Congratulations to her. And also to Tom Houck, who used to be formerly on this panel. He is launching a civil rights tour of Atlanta at the end of the month on March 27th, and he's got a 3-hour tour of special civil rights sites in
and
Atlanta.
my hat's off to him as long as he's not the driver.
He's worked.
He's not the driver, but his claim to fame is, of course, that he was a young teenage driver for Martin Luther King Jr.
Right.
when he first came to Atlanta.
All right, I guess I get to do something this week, huh? I'll start with Andy Landers, who's retiring as women's basketball coach at UGA. More than 850 wins in his career. What a great coach. Longevity. He never got to the level of Pat Head Summit or Gino Auriemma, but he was certainly right at their heels. One fine coach. The Falcons have re-signed the defensive end Croy Bierman. Does this mean there is new life for the Real Housewives of Atlanta? And finally, Empire. Alexis and I will reserve that discussion for another day, but it has revitalized network television, especially this one, Fox. See you next week on The Georgia Gang.
The opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the panelists appearing in this program.